Good morning. It is a little earlier today. I've got some other stuff that I have to get done, so there was a conflict. If you want to reply to me, you can, and I will answer back for you. So today is March 9th, and I think Tuesday or Wednesday will be a week away from the midterms. Now, what I've been hearing from a lot of folks is that they are voting early. And all you have to do is go out and Google. Google is a good resource generally. Candidates running for governor, candidates running for the legislature, which is important because uh, your legislature uh, rep, House of Representative person could be running. And then, of course, the Senate and governor. Those are the statewide ones. So I encourage you to get out there and to vote. So I've done that plug now. Okay. So what are the governor of Illinois and the state legislature folks up to this week? Well, let's start with the Republicans, what they're doing this week. Uh, they're focusing on affordability, immigration enforcement, and public safety. So they were doing that last week. So I guess that this is the hump week for getting their ideas across. So, two of the candidates want to roll back the state gas tax and address rocketing property taxes, and which they claim are the highest in the country. And they are correct. Second highest. California is probably double the size, and we're not far behind them in gas tax. And I did some research on gas tax, and I will talk about that on Friday because my weekly U.S. government policy one was talking about gas prices too. So at the end, I'll tell you about the federal and encourage you. Okay, so one of the candidates is still proposing an Illinois Doge system to find savings and efficiencies within the state budget. Actually, a governor can do that. So that candidate made a pretty good point, and I believe maybe they think, the Republicans think, that there is some corruption going on, but you won't know that unless you do an audit. So that, I believe, is fair to do one. The Democrats could too. So far, they haven't. Energy costs. The rising cost of utility bills. Well, that's not new. And they are suggesting that removing undocumented immigrants from the labor market would drive up wages for citizens. Okay, so that's the Republican response to energy costs, that they think that if you take out the undocumented immigrants, the salaries will go up for citizens. So you have to see if you agree with that or not. Now, I said earlier, the Republicans are laser focused on immigration enforcement. So uh, they are uh, criticizing the governor for sanctuary state policy and the Trust Act. And they also keep bringing up that the governor and the legislature uh, are blocking local law enforcement from enforcing federal laws with immigration. All right. So, and keeping along the same line, they want ICE cooperation. They support, generally speaking, got to throw in general, increased federal enforcement and the use of ICE agents. And of course, we know what the Democrats, the governor, and the legislature, they have passed a law and then also under Governor Pritzker, we have a sanctuary city. All right, border security. They want to secure the borders and statewide uh, national sovereignty and securing borders. Don't know how they can really enforce that at a national level. That's why I had to read it twice. All right, crime and justice. Um, Still talking about the Safety Act. Push for the repeal or significant modification of the 2021 Safety Act. I've talked about that a lot, actually. What that would actually require is the legislature would have to repeal it. And you can only do that if you had a Republican led legislature, or the numbers for the Republican legislatures increased by at least 15. You could probably swing a couple of Democrats. So as far as that goes, I don't see any movement on that. And neither, if we do put a Republican governor in there, I don't see how he or she could change that yet. You have to change the legislature first. Public safety. This one was the same one as last week, talking about the Chicago Transit Authority, and they're talking about there's been a couple of incidents on public transportation. We don't, like I've previously told you, we don't get to see a lot of that news. You'd have to go to WGN to actually get that information. And currently, there's just not enough hours in the day for people to go and do that. And of course, the Republicans were upset about the gerrymandering. That's what they called the maps. And they point to unfair representation in Illinois. All of the states do that. And you would actually have to change the Constitution in Illinois to make that relevant. Also, if the governor were Republican, then they couldn't have passed the new maps in the first place. So that's something that a Republican governor could actually block. The SAVE Act, federal legislation regarding voter registration requirements and proof of citizenship. That's the Save America Act. That's actually in the U.S. Senate as well. So the legislature, the Republicans are trying to push that forward. Public corruption, that's ongoing, to use grand juries and other oversight tools to combat longstanding public corruption. I think that's fair. The Democratic governor should actually be doing that. So all of that stuff is fair game. Okay, so what are the Democrats doing? What's Governor Pritzker doing? Well, they are looking at affordability driven by the multi-million dollar budget gap and anticipated federal funding cuts. This is important because now the Democrats, which is fair, it's the legislature and the governor, they're both Democrats. They are signaling that they have to somehow make up the money, and they are blaming the federal government for the gaps in funding. So they are signaling early. And remember, the only thing that stops them from really putting the hammer down on maybe new taxes and all of those things is that it is an election year. So I got to plug again. Find your candidate and vote in the primary. All right. Fiscal stability versus federal cuts. And like I said, they are projecting a $3.2 billion budget. So that's the signal. Okay. They want to make up the money. And currently, the only way that they can do that is by more taxes to people who are actually working. And Pritzker wants to do a maintenance budget, aims to offset the $8 billion in federal reductions. So they are projecting $8 billion. So if you add that to the three, that would be 11 if that's how they're doing the math, right? So they have to make up the $8 billion. So more to come on that as we move forward. To fund priorities without broad tax hikes, the governor is proposing a $200 million social media platform fee targeting addictive algorithms. Now that's interesting because if you look across the country, especially in some of the blue states, they are starting to go after social media. And as a matter of fact, Governor Pritzker instructed the Attorney General to be part of a class action against a social media company, a huge one. I won't tell you which one it is. All you have to do is Google it and you can find that out. Now, here's the thing. So when they sue them and the money comes in, do the taxpayers get it? Well, we would have to do an audit to see because I am very curious about that. The other thing that they want to do is they want to tax casino table games at the same rate as slot machines. So you have to figure out if you like to play slots, if and play table games, if that pertains to you, and if that really helps you. Uh, and then they want to pause certain data center tax credits. If you didn't know, data centers have been getting tax credits. And so for this week, for their budget and priorities, that's what they want to do. And if I'm looking at it correctly, there is no mention on lessening taxes for anyone. All they are talking about is they're going to have a shortfall. So if I were you in the Metro East, I would be paying attention to what the governor and the legislature are saying. Now, I have talked about affordability. I've talked about the pricing. And this week on my US federal government podcast, I talk about gas prices. So check me out on that because if you didn't know already, and this is probably new information for most of us, did you know that the United States produces the most oil in the world? Did you know that as of 2025? And if you listen to the podcast, you're going to find out facts, of course, and you're going to have my assertion that why is the mainstream media saying that gas prices are going up? I watched the news this morning, like the national news from the mainstream medias, and they are heavily talking about stock market, and they're also talking about routes in the ocean that the tankers are supposed to be going in and all of that stuff. Listen to my podcast. I point out what the federal government did last year that should make a voter wonder if that is why gas prices are going up. So the bottom line is it going up because of the Iran war, or is it convenient for whoever's trying to sell this narrative so that they can force the president to get out of Iran or to make the U.S. look bad like we are the aggressors. So please listen to the podcast and you can form your own opinion based on the facts and details. All right. Well, as promised, it was 15 minutes and it was fast and furious. So to end, I would say you've got one more week to early vote, early vote, early vote. And if not, on election day, March 17th, you can vote. So I will be on again Friday with more information for you. Have a great day and look for someone to say hello to and smile at. Have a great